Hello everyone, this is part 33 of What If Naruto Learned the Secret of Shadow Clone, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Having flashed to the top of the Great Naruto Bridge and taken stock of the situation, Naruto was now making his way sedately towards where he could feel the foreign chakra source. Whoever they were stationary, keeping off the road but flaring their chakra evenly every few minutes. A call out for sure, and with the hint of Biju chakra in there, only one person would be answering this call from Uzushio. Introspective for now, Naruto mentally turned to Kurama. Any idea who this is? Kurama hummed and felt out himself before nodding. It is the Matatabi. The two tails. Any advice? Normally she is pretty lazy, but she's ferocious and loves fire, so be careful of that. Kurama was curious however. It would take a lot to motivate that Biju interaction for anything, and by extension her container as well. It did not bode well. Naruto nods at that and automatically decides any and all wind techniques were out the window. That still left him with plenty of options, though less non-lethal ones. Spotting their target, a tall blonde woman wearing purple and black Kumo-themed armor with bandages along her forearms and a red sash along her waist. She was settled in a small clearing, arms crossed and waiting for him. Dropping down a few meters in front of her from the trees, Naruto offered her a grin. Tsukumo sent you ha. Not going to go with the quiet approach. It'd probably work out better. Less damage too. He was pretty sure he and B would have been facing off, not this woman. I warned B, I won't go easily on any of you. Sighing and still wishing she was anywhere else, long beat in training kicked in. B warned me as such, but I have my orders. You already knew one of us was coming, so nothing less than a fight would suffice. And since I have complete control of my powers and you don't, I believe I have the upper hand. There was a lot to be said about a fully realized Jinchuriki. This boy was about to find that out. If your cage wants to talk to me so badly, he should have just come himself. But, oh well, I feel like you're underestimating me, and that's a no-no. Any chance you can go back and just tell your cage to come and talk to me himself? You know that won't happen. My cage does not recognize containers as people. We are tools. That is all. You are to either submit and return with me, or die. Forcibly keeping the link between her and the Matatabi closed, knowing the Biju would be telling her this was the wrong way to do this, she didn't care. There were only two outcomes for this mission after all. Fight or die. Heaving a deep breath and giving her a dejected look, Naruto couldn't help but feel for the woman across from him. She had obviously been through a lot. Look, you're free to do whatever it is you feel like you need to do. But I won't be leaving here with you. Don't throw your life away for some asshole who could care less if you live or not. It was telling that they were so confident that they could subdue him, on his own home turf at that. This wasn't confidence, this was arrogance. He'd definitely be paying the Raikage a visit after his training with the Toads. It would give him time to gather information. Nodding and welling up her chakra, going straight into building up her Biju cloak, Yugito gives him a genuinely mournful smile. I wish things could be different. Things could be, if you'd calm down. Think about this. No one is out here but us. Whatever they put you through, whatever they did to you, it doesn't matter out here. Chakra levels reaching new heights, ground beginning to crack and buckle, Yugito locks eyes with him. As a fellow Jinchuriki, you should know better. Our fate was sealed the moment our Biju was sealed within us. We don't get normal lives, we don't get to be human anymore. Yeah. Naruto began to prepare himself as well. Finally, guess I should, huh? But you know what? Here his eyes begin to shine as more chakra begins to circulate through him. I think you need a bit of a reality check. And I'm here to beat it into you. Dashing forward and looking to end this quickly, Yugito howls with rage as the Biju cloak begins to more fully form around her. Don't speak to me as if you know how bad it can be, Konoha brat. Suddenly Naruto grinned. Gotcha. Ha! Yugito is blindsided by a clone and suddenly they were gone, the clearing left with cracks in the ground and not much else. Far away, on a lone island that was previously heavily damaged, The Naruto clone dropped a woozy Yugito on her ass while Naruto himself continued to stand a few meters ahead of her. The space they found themselves in was a wide cave with no discernible way to enter or leave, short of an opening at the top, a small 3-meter wide opening that let in natural light but nothing else. That the opening was 100 meters above them told Yugito all she needed to know about her chances of leaving that way. Standing and looking around, the rock was odd-looking. Porous and jagged with some hints of ash here and there. She had to refocus back on her target, leaving the mystery of where they were for later. Naruto, however, was happy to continue to banter with her. If you wanna fight me so badly, I figured I'd bring you somewhere we can really cut loose. No one is here but you and me. I blew this island apart once and the volcano erupted and built this massive lava tube. Well, I had to hollow it out a bit, but that's a different story. Beginning to well up his chakra much as she had, Naruto summons and dons his oakum mask, placing it over his face and smirking behind it. I'll be getting serious, so I'll only warn you once. You start this fight and I won't stop until I put you down and you stay down. Chakra cloak springing back into life, Yugito nods slowly, I wouldn't have it any other way. Just one last question. Here he points at her purposefully, what do you know about captured Uzumaki in your village? Mentally thinking back to the pens, monitoring feeding tubes and jail cells, she shakes the thoughts away instantly, you want to know. Beat it out of me. Everything not a Kumo citizen was a tool to the rakeage. Everything. Sighing and realizing that he wasn't going to get through to her, stubborn woman, he nods and raises a hand, beckoning her forward, then come, and let's see what you've got. Learning her lesson, Yugito keeps her distance, leaping to the right and spewing blue fire blasts with abandon as Naruto nimbly dodges between them with ease. Utilizing the Nibi's fire easily, Yugito keeps up the pressure, attempting to hem the boy in while keeping the damage to his body to a minimum. Yes, he was a container, but she didn't want to provoke a direct response from his biju. Uncontrolled as his power most likely was, working him into a rage wouldn't be good. Naruto mentally sighed as he casually flipped over a fire blast before hitting the ground and rolling under another, before performing a kawarimi with a rock formation and gaining some distance. She's underestimating me, by a lot. Something tells me Kumo thinks they have a monopoly on fully realized biju. Naruto nods, making several dozen clones and fading away into the smoke, gaining some space and watching her fight. I mean, we aren't fully realized, so that part isn't really wrong. But you are truly powerful all on your own. And I believe by this point, if I had the other half of my chakra, we could harmonize much as she does with the Matatabi. Remember, after the toads and we play with nature chakra, we'll get to modifying the seal. I know, it's just frustrating to wait. Naruto watched as Yugito closed in with the clones in furious taijutsu, nails on her hands and feet extending and turning into claws. Watching her eviscerate several unprepared clones, Naruto whistles, well that's new. And deadly, better get back to it. Nodding and directing his clones away from Yugito and into the shadows of the cave's edges, Naruto dashes in while unsealing the kubikiri. You know, this has been fun to watch so far. Sword arcing out and clashing with her nails, hardened with biju chakra, a serene smile graces his face that she can't see, wanna take it up a notch. Breaking the deadlock and going on the attack, trying to break through the younger teen's guard while also keeping an eye on the various clones in the shadows, the older woman scoffs, arrogant. Thinking you can take me without resorting to your biju. Are you so scared of the Kyuubi you won't even touch its chakra? Flaring her chakra and donning her biju cloak fully, a ghostly Matatabi taking form around her, Yugito grinned, I'll make short work of you coward. Whistling and admiring that indeed it was pretty cool, he does bring his sword up to defend himself as a powerful paw comes crashing down towards his head, legs braced and having to squat a bit, the ground below him cracks and craters. Woo, that's got some punch to it. You better put her down, or I'll never let you hear the end of it. Can't have that. Having only a second of warning as the Matatabi's mouth opens and fire begins to gather there, he leaps backwards as a hellstorm of blue fire engulfs where he was standing previously. The blast is short but instantly raises the temperature of the cave greatly, and his previous position is left as molten rock and black glass. That looks spicy. Take this seriously. Firing another blast of fire, Yugito tracks him up and away, fire trailing along the ceiling and leaving more molten rock. To think B was so worried about you. Casually making a Rasengan, he launches it into her side and watches it connect and detonate with a grin. I haven't even started, kitten, but don't worry, I'm starting to get all fired up now. Landing and dashing around her, another Rasengan was formed and launched into her other side, knocking her off her feet. Dust and smoke rise to conceal her for a moment before another blue blast of fire races towards Naruto. With a grunt, he uses the Kubikiri to fire a futon, Daytopper into the ground that launch him away. That said, I think you're gonna be my guinea pig. I wanna test out something really cool. Yugito shook her head from where she had been rattled around and growled, racing forward to close the distance. Test. Test. We're fighting for our lives and you want to test something. Question mark. Do you have any idea what is at stake here? Claws coming down towards his face, his sword intercepts her and holds her back. Years of memories hit her, torture labeled as training. Mental conditioning, physical conditioning of every type and form. Years upon years of molding into being the perfect container and kunoichi. Since she could walk, she had been nothing but the Nibi container. Today she was a proud Kumo ninja and she would lay down her life if necessary for her village. Whether she truly wanted to, or not. Naruto could feel it, through her actions, through her strikes. Her heart wasn't in this. Batting away a claw strike and backing away as another blast of fire glassed the ground they fought on, Naruto blew out a breath and locked eyes with her. You know. Sounds like you've had a rough time of it. We're containers. Our lives are nothing but sacrifice. More fire fueled with her chakra and rage, it briefly lit up the cave and illuminated all of the various clones watching them, waiting for something. Yugito didn't care, so long as they kept out of it. Seeing him still somehow standing there in front of her, stance calm and ready, she welled up even more chakra. I'm going to put you down. Releasing another massive fireball, she misses Naruto's step and disappear. Appearing behind her, sword mid-swing, Naruto shakes his head. You sure about that? Coming down hard on her, Yugito just barely has the time to block him with her tails. Naruto grins behind his mask as the end of the Kubikiri explodes, showering her and the surrounding area with metal. Watching her be knocked back by the explosion, the massive chakra construct tumbling, Naruto felt out and considered his plan ready. So far, I think I had a harder time fighting Orochimaru. Gritting her teeth, more from the indignity of being thrown off than actually being hurt, Yugito returned to her feet with a snarl. You said you'd take this seriously. I'm nothing compared to B, or the Raikage himself. To think he was worried about you. If somehow I do fail, they're coming next. Mark my words. Nodding and bouncing the remaining half of the Kubikiri Boko on his shoulder, Naruto can't help but lower his estimations of her. She was smart and a dedicated tactician, but she made a lot of assumptions about him because of him being a fellow container. He'd have to watch it and make sure he didn't do the same in the future. You're right. I should take this seriously and wrap this up. I have more to do today after all. Taking a step, he was gone, a light trail of dust raising from where his foot was without a sound. Looking around frantically, Yugito considered her options. Was it a genjutsu? No. With the Matatabi's chakra coursing through her, that would be an impossibility at this point. Hearing a flutter of cloth behind her, she was already turning and raising a claw to attack, except her paw was taken off at the wrist. Sending her off balance, she gets a brief glimpse of blonde hair before he's gone again. Reforming the missing section of chakra cloak and turning to where he had gone, she was instead impacted heavily in the side and sent tumbling end over end. Feeling like she had just gotten hit by B in his own transformation, she just barely makes her feet before the same heavy impact sends her flying in a new direction. How was this happening? There was no sound, no warning. Maybe a flutter of cloth or a flash of blue light and then the hit came. It continued like this as well, never given a chance to fight back or retaliate. Yugito is battered back and forth within the cavern and the damage mounts up. Trying to raise her arms in front of her, another chakra arm is hacked off, sent flying to dissolve into the air. Reforming this one took more effort, and she realized with a start that she was beginning to fade. As she looks around herself, several seals she hadn't noticed have been placed on her chakra body, soaking up her chakra and dispersing it. Eventually losing control of the chakra cloak as she's sent sailing through the air again, she's treated to Naruto appearing above her, glowing eyes locked onto her and the sun at his back to cast his face in shadows. A larger Rasengan is already headed her way. Sorry about this, but you're done, I think. Launching his attack, he watches as the woman is sent spiraling into the ground with a crash. Dust and rocks sent flying, he lands at the edge of the new crater and admires his work. Yugito is dirty and battered, clothes ripped and torn, bleeding from wounds all along her body as she panted and gasped for breath. He could feel her chakra was dangerously low, and considered that she was done for now. Still cautious, two clones dash in, suppression seals placed at her navel, chest, arms and legs before they dashed out of range again. Seeing her fully slump into the ground but remain conscious, Naruto nods and begins to make his way down to her. This could have been different, you know. Groaning and doing her best not to let the tears come, Yugito accepts her fate for what it was. So B was right. The boy was truly powerful, even without his biju. She didn't want to think about what he could do if and when he decided to use it. Looking up into the skylight and admiring a fluffy cloud that was passing overhead, the woman let out a tired sigh. How are you so powerful? Lots of practice and hard work. And having a family that I've sworn to protect with my life. Bouncing his sword on his shoulder still, he idly raised it and with a white flash it was suddenly whole again. All of the various pieces from the ground reassemble and back in place where they belonged. With a flourish he seals it away before he takes off his mask and seals that away as well. Now then, I have some questions for you. You gonna be a good kitty this time? Scoffing, Yugito refused to meet his eyes as he stood over her. Do what you will. You've beaten me. I don't know what you're expecting, but I only have questions for you. How many Uzumaki are in Kumo? Mentally preparing for what she knew would be coming eventually, Yugito still answered him truthfully, several, but less than a dozen I believe. Mostly women. There are a couple males left I believe, but one is elderly and beyond use now and will most likely be culled soon. And the other is a boy, not viable for seeding yet. Twitching but not showing his rage on his face, Naruto nodded. Any others? Of offspring that I know of. There are 5, but only one has shown any Uzumaki traits at all. The typical deep red hair. But nothing else. Yugito had heard whispers that the Uzumaki had figured out how to keep their traits to themselves with seals to protect against breeding programs. It was the only reason the older man was still alive, researchers hoping to break him and learn their secret. Naruto sighs and nods, upset that it was just as bad as Orochimaru had told them. You'll forgive me, but I'm going to have to imprison you and question you more thoroughly. Hope you understand. I can imagine what type of questioning you have in mind. Do you worst? I've already been prepared. In the end you aren't much different than all the other cage. I'm sure you'll either want to turn me into your own weapon or rip the matatabi out of me for yourself. Her training had been very thorough, and she knew the politics involving all of the villages. Jinchuriki were the height of power between the villages. Walking disasters. Human weapons. They were kept to maintain the delicate balance. Collecting one by any means was normal. Yeah, you've hinted at that a few times, and while Kumo sounds like an increasingly disgusting place. We don't do that here. You won't be assaulted, raped or anything like that. You will be treated like a real human being here. Because you are one. You aren't just some tool. Some human sacrifice. Naruto pointed with a thumb at his own chest, fury finally entering his eyes. You're a person, with hopes and dreams and desires. And if the Raikage is the one who beat that out of you, if Kumo is doing this to people it deems as tools, then it's my job to save you. I want a peaceful world, but mindsets like that go against that. Separating people as less than human is no better than slavery. And I hate slavery. Sitting down next to her with a sigh, schooling his anger after a moment and a deep breath, Naruto eventually joins the paralyzed woman in staring up at the sky. I do get where you're coming from, though my life wasn't so horrible. My village instead used my clan, pillaged us for our knowledge and our money, kept me in the dark and attempted to use me. Like you, some of them thought of me as nothing more than a tool, to be used and discarded when necessary. It was why I started this. Why I rebuilt my family's home, our village. I wanted a place where we could truly be equal, where people could come together, build a peaceful home together. And me. I would be here, to protect that peace. By any means necessary. Looking down at her, giving her a view of his mismatched eyes, ringed purple eye glowing, Naruto grinned. I know you probably don't believe me, but that means you as well. You're a Jinchuriki like me. Kinda makes us family, doesn't it? No one else but them understood what it meant to be them after all. Scoffing and wishing she could turn away, Yugito instead just sighed and finally made eye contact with him. Sappy nonsense. You truly are from Konoha. Bleeding hearts, the lot of you. Ha, they do have some good points. Come on, wanna talk about it? His eyes were finally calm, trusting, willing to listen. Yugito could see that and wanted to puke, like I said. My life was nothing but training and conditioning. My biju was sealed inside me when I was 2 years old. From then on I was Yugito, the weapon. The container. The sacrifice. For my family, my people, my village. I would lay down my life if ordered to. Here the beginnings of tears finally began to well up, mental blocks finally coming down as in her heart she truly did feel like this might be the end. I wish you'd just get it over with. Kill me, or take your vengeance and use me as breeding stock like Kumo has done with your family. Just stop this. Don't mock me with this try-hard redemption you're attempting. Even if it was the wrong response, Naruto couldn't help but chuckle as he placed one last seal around her wrist that melted into her skin painlessly. Seeing the work complete itself, he removed the rest of the seals and stood slowly, backing away as feeling and function returned to her limbs. Look, I'm not being fake about this, and I know it'll take a lot for you to believe me, but well, here Naruto scratched his neck nervously with a smile, I really do mean it. Knowing you've suffered like this, I want to help you. So, take some time. Relax. You're gonna be stuck here for a bit, but I'm going to bring you to Azushio. And I'm going to put you up somewhere comfortable at least. You will be treated like a person, and I will show you that things can be different. Naruto pointed at her as she sat up slowly and looked up towards him. I won't kill you, torture you, or anything else while you're in my custody. And when I'm done with Kumo, if you want to leave, figure yourself out somewhere else, then I'll let you go. That's a promise, Yugito. From one human sacrifice to another. Yugito finally let down her mental blocks, the Matatabi nearly screaming at her and making her wince. You utter idiot. Yugito mentally nodded as Naruto walked around and ordered his clones around for a moment. I know. I just nothing. I know you've wanted to die. But this, what the hell is this? Well, I'm sorry. You owe me a mountain of fish. And tons of naps in the sun. Chuckling and getting a knowing look from Naruto, Yugito couldn't help but sigh and accept her fate. Hi. I bow to your will, Matatabi-sama. And when we're healthy and have him alone, you're mounting that stud and fucking him into a coma. You've put me through too much for this. Can we negotiate that one? Absolutely not. Please. Maybe twice as much fish. Maybe we can find some catnip. Not good enough. Oh come on. He's like 7 years my junior. I don't care. You cut me off from you. You promised you would never cut me off. You promised. With a pang of regret, Yugito did acknowledge that she had promised the Matatabi she would never cut her off like that. Stuck inside of her, her senses were the only way Matatabi could experience the world around them. It was like suddenly becoming deaf and mute. Truly terrifying really. I'm sorry. I can't make a promise on that one though. You're a woman. Figure it out because you owe him a lot for forcing him to put up with this bullshit. He was willing to talk as well. I know. I'm going to sleep. Listen to everything he tells you, kitten. Irritated but happy her container was alive, the ancient biju at least gave thanks for that. Sighing and looking up into the kind eyes of the teen holding of the strongest biju in existence, Yugito shook her head. Your biju just as much of a heavy-handed meddler. Naruto can't help but nod instantly, something like that. Is that complaining asshole? 'Cause I can start playing around with your genetics again. You really wanna experiment some more? Remember what happened last time? Yes, you got an ancient and nearly unrivaled dojutsu. What's the worst that I can do? You don't even understand how the human body works. 'Cause it makes no sense. Who needs a redundant nervous system? What the hell is an appendix? Why aren't your teeth sharper? It's maddening. Shaking his head and sharing a look with Yugito, he tapped his head. Mine likes to play God. 'Cause I am one. And he's super humble. Giggling, a weight lifting off of her shoulders that she didn't even realize she was holding onto, Yugito nodded. I understand that one. Sighing again, she leaned back on her hands. So what happens now? Well, you did attack me, after I offered to just talk multiple times. So there is that. So like I said, you're going to be our prisoner for a while. But beyond some questions there won't be much else. Well, Karen will wanna make sure you're all healed up, so be prepared for that. Naruto crossed his arms and tilted his head from side to side. Depending on how things go with Kumo, we can eventually release you back to them, but somehow I doubt that. But I promise, we won't enslave you or any of that other nasty shit you assumed would happen to you. You beat me, without resorting to your biju. I'm fully at your mercy from here on. I'll play nice. And she would as well, she didn't just have to answer to him after all. The Matatabi was royally pissed off at her. I still think it was a cheat, whatever it was you did. Naruto grins and wells up a small combination of his and Kurama's chakra, red mists hanging on his form and drawing a shiver from the woman before him. I mean, if you like you can try again. I'll use his chakra this time. Gaining some respect for the boy, as even without the cloak she could tell that his chakra dwarfed hers by a wide margin, she shook her head. No thanks, one beating is enough for me I think. Her friend thought otherwise, bet he could beat you in others ways you might enjoy. Maybe we can skip the healing and go straight to the mounting. Horny cat. Hard-headed prude. I'm not offering myself to him after he just literally stomped me flat. That's the best time. Shaking his head and leaving Yugito to talk to her tenant, Naruto waves over his shoulder, you get to hang out here until I prepare your room. One of the clones will bring you. Flashing away with a more visible Haration, he leaves Yugito alone with a cave full of silent clones. Left alone and dropping onto her back with a grunt, Yugito accepted that she had been thoroughly beaten. Feeling sluggish and assuming that the seal on her wrist was suppressing her chakra, she decided that the forced boredom might be good for her. Looking around and knowing the cat wouldn't shut up, she wondered if she could coax one of the clones into a conversation. She couldn't do much more than talk anyway at this point, and listening to the cooling and cracking obsidian around her wouldn't be any fun on its own. It had been days since Naruto had left Konoha, and having to stop and eat a few times to refill her chakra, she was still flying high above the land of fire forests. Today it was pleasantly warm and she was enjoying the sensation of the wind pushing against her and the heat from the sun on her skin. And while the novelty of flight eventually had worn off, she still was having fun as she finally locked on and navigated her way towards where she could feel chakra, and a lot of it. While maps weren't always reliable, she should be headed in the correct direction of Taki. Hopefully. Ahead of her she can see a cliffside with a large waterfall and begins to angle upwards to clear it. Maybe this was it. Feeling chakra surge up towards her, Naruto was surprised to see someone else taking to the skies to confront her. Confusion gave way to curiosity. Was this tan-skinned girl an enemy? She was slender, mint green hair pushed back on one side with an orange hair clip that matched her eyes, dressed in a white skirt with a white tank top and odd half sleeves on her forearms. Naruto however was very focused on the insect wings coming from her lower back, less so the bright and cheerful smile on her face. Hey there. Fu was a lot of things and was used to seeing weird or unusual sights. Another girl flying through the sky was very much a new one for her. It's rare to see someone else that can fly around here. What brings you to this corner of the world? Naruto nods dumbly. I was bored and exploring. I wanted to find Taki cause I realized I've never been, so I wanted to see it. That really was it, just her idle curiosity. Fu nodded and grinned, arms folded up behind her head. Well, I can't take you in today, but hey. I can talk to the guards and see if you can gain entry, if you're willing to wait that is. See, Taki isn't really a friendly place to outsiders. Or people like them really. Someone else able to fly would probably put too many similarities to the insect Jinchuriki on the other girl. Naruto takes a moment to really look at the other girl, senses telling her more than her eyes ever could. As both girls hover in place for the moment. Oh, I get it. You're a Jinchuriki. The feeling was there, not quite human, but not human either. It was odd to be able to pick Jinchuriki out like this. Fu nods quickly, a bright smile still in place as something hopeful builds in her heart. Does that mean you are too? That's so exciting. I've never met another one before. She had so many questions for the other girl. Were others around? Did they meet up? How many had she met? Oh, she wanted to know. Naruto couldn't help but chuckle as the other girl did a good job of bouncing in place while in mid-air. Yes and no. It's a bit complicated. She as well however was curious about the chipper biju container with insect wings. I'm Naruto. Oh, I'm Fu. Nice to meet you. Naruto nods and looks around, realizing that she would have to head down soon. This technique did burn through chakra. Say, could we hang out a bit? I'd like to learn more about you. Eyes shining, Fu nods furiously and grabs the other girl by the hand. Absolutely. Come on, my place isn't far from here, just outside of the village really. And I can actually take you there without getting in trouble. Zooming through the sky with Naruto in tow, the other pseudo girl gave thanks that in her haste, Fu didn't seem like she would be asking more complicated questions for now. At least she had found an inn with Taki. Descending to the forest, Fu leads them to a larger than normal tree where a tree house has been built. Makeshift and looking like someone barely put the effort in putting it together, Fu still landed upon the porch that circled around the entire construction and spread her arms wide, finally letting go of Naruto's hand. This is home sweet home. My little hideaway. Welcome. Idly rubbing her fingers together at the warm feeling there, Naruto couldn't help but smile with the other girl. It's nice. She sure had a lot of energy. Throwing open her door and ushering the other girl inside, Fu giggles and follows behind her. It's the best place for me. I get to stay far enough away from the village so that people don't bother me, but I'm close enough so that I can stop in and do my shopping and take missions when I need the money. The room was rather bare. On the right and under a window that looked out over the cliff and forests was a comfortable looking bed with a dresser at its end board. To the left was a sitting area with a couch and coffee table and a small kitchen. Ahead of them was a flat wall with 2 doors, which Fu pointed to the one on the left closer to the kitchen. Through there is the bathroom and the bath. Pointing right she grinned wider. Through there is storage. It's usually just me, so I don't really need a lot of room. Naruto took it all in, noticing the lack of decorations, though there looked to be a few handmade trinkets here and there. It's homey. Thanks. Twirling and making for the kitchen, Fu looks at her questioningly. Are ya hungry? Want some water? Or maybe tea? Naruto shakes her head, finally coming to sit on the rather worn-looking couch while Fu watches her. I'm good, ate a big lunch earlier. That bore had been filling, and as long as she didn't use much chakra she would be good for a few more days yet. Hopefully at least. Nodding and joining Naruto on the couch, Fu turns to her excitedly. So, where are you from? I'm guessing you're a ninja, but you don't have a headband. You're not a rogue, are you? It was only now that she thought about that, but decided it wasn't important. Naruto didn't strike her as the rogue type. Have you met other Jinchuriki on your travels? Chuckling and raising her hands at the barrage of questions, Naruto can't help but feel like she's indulging her overly excited puppy. It's a little strange. I'm from Konoha, but I left under odd terms. I'm not a rogue though, so don't worry about that. I'm not a ninja, but I have training. She was really having to think about what she could or couldn't answer about. She didn't want to lead bad things back to Naruto after all, or cause trouble for Azushio. It was home, wasn't it? Well, in any case she didn't know this girl at all, even if she got such a goody-goody vibe from her. I met the Suna Jinchuriki though, and the Konoha Jinchuriki. He's really strong. Like, crazy strong. Watch out for him. Did that count as boasting about herself? Nah. Fu had stars in her eyes as she nodded quickly. What are they like? Do they have cool powers from their biju? I'm happy you aren't a rogue. I'd have to take you in and I don't wanna do that. Fu pauses to put a finger to her chin and seemed to be thinking hard about something. Snapping her fingers after a moment, she pointed at the wide-eyed blonde. Have you heard that the next Chunin exams are in Konoha? Naruto shook her head. I hadn't heard that. Fu looks down to the table, hands idly twisting and fidgeting with each other. I really want to attend, but my cage is really reluctant to let me go. But I had a dream of meeting the Konoha Jinchuriki and maybe making some new friends. I did hear that he was really special, not just that he was super strong. It sounds stupid, but I always hoped that maybe one day all us Jinchuriki could get together and be friends. Chuckling and shaking her head, Naruto does have to burst the other girl's bubble. Sorry, but the Konoha Jinchuriki is long gone. He's on his own adventure outside of the village. Naruto took in the almost downtrodden look on the other girl's face. Something within her coaxed her along and she nudged her gently. I'm sure that you and him would get along though. In fact, I think you both would be great friends. He's just as much of an excitable airhead as you. Hey, no fair teasing me. Puffing out her cheeks in a way that Naruto almost immediately found cute, Fu eventually groaned and relaxed bonelessly back into the couch. Guess I can scratch that hope off of my list. What are the odds I'll ever meet him now? Again wondering if Naruto meeting Fu counted as the other girl meeting Naruto, she shook her head mentally in the negative. She wasn't Naruto. Close, but not. I'm sure the fates will make it happen, one way or another. You really think so? Yup. Throwing her arms around the surprised girl and hugging her tightly, Fu gave a light cheer and grinned fully as she pulled away from the frozen Naruto. I'll take your word for it. Fu was staring up into her ceiling, legs kicking idly. Maybe my dream of getting all of us together can come true after all. We're all we got, ya know. Who else can understand us but us? Orange eyes met mismatched blue and purple. Something interesting moving behind those eyes. Naruto almost couldn't bear to watch the all too trusting girl smile at her. Maybe, we can make that happen. Someday. What was this? What was this feeling in her chest? It was tight, she was stuck wanting to flee and wanting to hit something. Not Fu, no. Her mind automatically labeled the other girl as, to be protected at all costs. It was maddening. But she was traveling to learn all these little things about herself. This would just be the next step towards understanding herself. Part of her felt like giving Fu some real hope, and leaned into it. You want to meet some of the other containers, right? Surely the part of her that wasn't her wouldn't steer her wrong. It was telling her to trust Fu, and the girl really looked like she needed a win in life. Fu nodded quickly, absolutely. Well, Naruto was a bit reluctant to give out information, but something within her, something calm and gentle, was telling her that Fu was trustworthy. You have to promise to keep this to yourself. This is Jinchuriki business. Just for us, okay? Seeing Fu nod quickly and mime closing her lips, Naruto couldn't help but grin. If you're really interested in meeting one of the containers, try heading towards Wave Country. It's an island to the southeast just off the coast from the Land of Fire. You don't have to worry about finding him directly. Just make it there, he'll find you. He sounds really powerful if he can track me just by being near me. For once her smile dims just a bit, eyes downcast as she stares into her kitchen. Well, as fun as it is to dream, and as much as the village doesn't like me, I can't abandon them. I do have some people who like me here. Not family, sort of friends. Naruto nods with understanding. I won't push you. I'm just giving you information. Poking the girl in the ribs and delighting at the yelp that it provokes, the not quite human blonde changes the topic. Say, as bubbly and happy as you are, you have to have some friends. Admirers. A boyfriend perhaps. She didn't like that one, hands almost automatically clenching as she uttered it. Curious. Fu shook her head. No. Certainly no love interests. You should know. The villagers barely even consider me human. Fu turned to look the other girl in the eye again. You're the first person in a long while that's actually sat and talked with me. Scratching that topic off the list of things to talk about and vowing to eat a few people here before she leaves, Naruto again changes the subject. Well, I'll be your friend, so add me to the list of people who like you. Eyes wide and shining, Fu almost instantly has Naruto's hands captured within her own. You mean it? Naruto nods. Yup. Honest. 100%. No foolin'. Naruto nods again. No foolin'. We're friends, me and you. She's dragged into another tight hug, and it's easier to understand the warm feeling that fills her chest this time. Fu pulled away with a smile and held the other girl by the shoulders. You're welcome here anytime. And since we're friends, I'll call you Na-chan from now on. Oh, but you can't shorten my name, but I want a cute nickname too, Caught up in the moment, Naruto reaches forward and pokes the other girl in the forehead. I think Fu-chan is good enough, yeah. Unless I start calling you Airhead-chan. Puffing out her cheeks again, Fu set about pounding her fists into a laughing Naruto's shoulder. No fair. I'm just excited. I'm not an airhead. I don't know, Airhead-chan sounds really good all of a sudden. You're so mean, Na-chan. Laughing and considering that, this was probably the nicest she had ever been to anyone. Ever. Ha. Light in the dark, she guessed. Sorry, Fu-chan it is then. Looking out and seeing the sun was beginning to set, Naruto looked around and felt out for chakra. She could probably make it to the village before night fully fell. I need to go find a place to stay. Fu was already shaking her head. Nonsense. She motioned to her home. You're my friend, so you can stay with me. I wanna hear more about your travels and your adventures. I wanna learn more about you. Suddenly bashful as she realized what she was saying and how that might be taken, Fu twiddled her fingers together, that is. If you'd like to stay. You know. Since we're friends now. Thinking about it, Naruto goes back and forth with herself as she watches the suddenly nervous girl. Part of her was fine with staying, it wasn't like where she slept mattered at all, and at least here she was reasonably sure that Fu wouldn't try to kill her and no one else would barge in on them. Fu's home didn't seem like Naruto's in Konoha, where break-ins might have been common at one point. But, the part of her that was happy to inflict some pain on others knew that she would need some real influx of chakra soon. What she had taken from Danzo and the few animals she had caught on the way here wouldn't last her much longer. And she couldn't pull chakra from nature like part of her was sure she should be able to do. It was all so vexing. Idly she realized she was making Fu wait for an answer and the girl looked ready to cry. Oops. Guess I'll stay here then, and we can talk for as long as you like. More gentle coaxing from the part of her that wasn't her. Really? Ahem, I mean. Yay, great. Scratching her cheek and bouncing up to the kitchen again, Fu turned to her with a wink and a grin. I'm gonna whip something together so we can have dinner together and we can talk. And tomorrow you can come into town with me so I can do my weekly shopping and I can show you the sights. Sighing and relaxing back into the couch while Fu busied herself about the kitchen, Naruto mentally patted herself on the back. She had made a friend, if she was much too bubbly and excitable. But, this was new, interesting even, and this journey was all about doing new things and learning about the world and herself. Plus, and here she felt deep within herself, staring idly at the flickering core of what she had deemed as her self. She didn't have much more time anyway. So she might as well enjoy everything that she could. The end to her independence might be coming up faster than she originally thought. Waves Port was always a busy place. Originally meant to be the new hub of Gato's shipping enterprise when he had taken over the country, now Wave and by extension Azushio was making greater use of it. More than 80% of Eastern Sea trade to and from the Land of Fire went through Wave, and the country itself made a heft profit from that. Add in other deals, such as luxury cruises, passenger travel, and now, ninja dealings with Azushio, Wave's port was nearly always full and busy. A fact that found Naruto, Tazuna and Hinata weaving their way through the busy dock on their way to a new ship that had docked and was waiting for them. Hailing from Kiri, the newest potential citizens of Azushio were here and ready to meet them. Naruto had deemed this too important not to meet them personally, and Hinata and the rest agreed with him. Tazuna was interested in the ship builders, and Naruto had asked him to come along instead of Tsunami, the older woman needing a break as far as Naruto was concerned. Gazing upon the ship, Naruto couldn't full place it. Certainly not a cruise ship, nor a container ship, but it was something in between both. A long and flat center section that looked like it could boast massive storage, while windows lined the hull and hinted at passenger quarters. Short in height and built of iron and steel, Naruto had a feeling that it personally belonged to the Zouzensho clan. Tazuna whistled as they looked towards a long and thin boarding ramp being lowered to the dock by the ship crew. Seems like a fast ship. Looks like one of our cargo ships, just shorter. Naruto shrugged. Shipbuilding is their thing. I'm sure it has more tricks and secrets than we could imagine. Watching the ramp fully lower as they finally approach and step out of the main foot traffic, they watch as a mismatched pair walk down the ramp to meet them. The first is a woman who looked to be in her 30s, fair-skinned but dark-haired, who had a very kind face. Dressed in a traditional kimono colored in white and blue with a deeper blue obi, she exudes an aura of quiet sophistication. Naruto could see her as an older Haku if he didn't know better. She had to be of the Yuki clan. The other is a stern man who Naruto guessed to be in his 40s, corded with muscle but shorter than average. Dressed in heavy and thick clothes, most likely water repellent, with what looked like a tool belt hanging off of his right side, it's easy to guess he was a craftsman. As they reach the bottom of the ramp, Naruto offers a slight bow as Hinata and Tazuna do the same behind him. Welcome to Wave. I hope your trip was easy. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. The lovely woman to my right is my wife Hinata, and this is Tazuna. The woman bows deeply while the man snorts, much to her consternation. I am Hana Yuki, current matriarch of the Yuki clan. We decided to make the trip with the Zouzensho clan to make things easier on everyone. Waiting for the man to introduce himself and seeing that he wouldn't, the quiet woman gave Naruto an apologetic look. Lady Terumi spoke very highly of you and your country. I do hope we can fit in here easily. Snorting, the man has crossed his arms and looks down on Naruto, having not descended completely in order to have a height advantage over the kid. All the flowery talk in the world isn't going to convince me that this country is going to be any different than Kiri. Leaning over the rail and spitting on the ground, the man growled, I need to see men of caliber, of grit, if I'm going to consider bringing my family and resettling here. We only work with those who can and will work hard. Not use your pretty ninja tricks. Naruto can't help but nod, not put off in the slightest. The man that he was assuming was the Zouzensho patriarch was just looking out for his family, something Naruto could understand. Guessing you're the leader of the Zouzensho. Easy guess. Sighing and deciding not to be a complete ass just yet, Tsuyoshi decided to be a bit more upfront. The civil war done a number on everyone in Kiri. Us included. Our losses were just ignored because we weren't ninja, just ship builders. Fair. Final straw was having our own ships and weapons used against us. We can't stand for that and we can't stay in Kiri. New cage and new direction. She plans on taking things aside. Naruto nods and holds eye contact with the man. Things are much different here in Azushio, of that I can promise you. We don't mandate how you live or do things, so long as at the minimum you are peaceful to your fellow citizens. If you want to hole away and keep to yourselves, we can respect that. If you want to continue your trade, we'll be there to help and support you. Tsuyoshi nods and scrubs a hand through his thick shoulder-length hair, dark eyes regarding Naruto intently. I'm Tsuyoshi the Keel. I'm the current Zouzensho head, like you guessed. Looking around at the port around them and taking in all of the various people and workers, and barely a headband in sight, the older man grumbles, a civilian port. We can't settle in here, there's no shipyard, no facilities large enough to convert either. Naruto gains a twinkle in his eye as he turns back to Tazuna, think their ship will fit in the cove. Tazuna nods quickly, easily. The dock is just bones right now, but it's fit for some light unloading. Fortress access is right there too. Cove. Tsuyoshi is curious, but tries not to show it on his face. Naruto however is waving off Tazuna's concern and ignoring Tsuyoshi's curiosity. We can set up something temporary for them in the meantime. Something tells me Tsuyoshi and the Zouzensho would appreciate something with promise. Putting special emphasis on the word, Naruto looks up and down the ship, seeing a mix of crew and passengers hanging out at the rails. Can we board and set off? I'd like to direct you somewhere special that I think you'll like. Tsuyoshi considers it for a moment, or makes a show of it, before nodding and turning back to his crew. Fingers to his lips, he blasts a loud whistle. Prepare to shove off. This isn't the end of the line. Aye aye. Suddenly there is a frenzy of activity and Tsuyoshi beckons everyone to follow him. Falling into step behind the broad man, Naruto can't help but grin and offer the surprised Hana a wink as the ice is sufficiently broken between the men. Suppressing a giggle, she shakes her head as they all reach the main deck and the ramp is tugged up and stored behind them. Naruto notes that indeed the center of the ship looked to be a mix of storage and open deck space, with the bridge towards the rear of the ship much like a container ship. Even if the ship in total was maybe 100 to maybe 150 meters long. Crew giving them space as they followed after Tsuyoshi, they make good time along the clean and well-kept steel deck. Tazuna notes the gritty material spaced along the deck, feeling its rough texture with a sandal. Grip tape. Tsuyoshi gives him an appreciative eye, something like that. Helps during heavy swells and storms. Part of our beliefs is not to rely on chakra if we can help it. Tazuna nods, well I'm just a civilian, so I get it. Makes work a bit harder, but so satisfying. Tsuyoshi nods, offering the older man a grin, you're a builder too eh? You can tell huh? Tazuna laughs loudly as they're ushered through a rounded steel door and immediately up some very steep stairs. I'm originally a bridge builder. But I've branched out a bit. Naruto chuckled, Tazuna the builder has a better ring to it. Shove it brat or I'll ring you. Tsunami might have something to say about that. Grumbling about no it all brats, Tazuna looks around as they come out into a long and well-staffed bridge deck. From the door they entered from, ahead of them is a walkway along the back wall full of instruments and controls that are only partially manned. To the right of that from them is an island laden with controls, a radio, and a chair which Tsuyoshi drops himself into. Furthest to the right, the front of the bridge near the windows where two large steering wheels facing a long bank of windows which were both manned at the moment. Tsuyoshi is already barking orders as the ship is eventually tugged away from the dock by smaller tugboats, while the guests all try their best to stay out of the way at the back. Hana however turns to Naruto and bows quickly. I should go and check on my people. Would you say we should be on land by the end of the day? Naruto nods easily, shouldn't be a problem one way or another. Here he turns and gently takes Hinata's hand into his. Why don't you go down with her, get to know the Yuki clan and give them a bit of a primer on Uzushio? Hinata can't help but shake her head, knowing he was trying to spare her from the macho aura of the Zozansho clan head. Sure thing Naruto. Turning to Hana, Hinata nods her head, after you then. Hana offers her a smile, perhaps we can talk on the way, I hear Uzushio has some interesting customs. Hinata giggles as they leave the bridge, so you've heard have you? Conversation fading out as they leave the deck, Naruto and Tazuna are left among the bridge crew. Naruto takes a minute to look out through the thick windows, seeing the eternal fog bank of Uzushio in the distance and getting a mental picture of where exactly they were. Tsuyoshi turns to him, hooking a thumb towards the sea. So, what's our heading? Naruto shrugged, taking a look at the sun but knowing he wasn't a seaman by any length. From here it's a bit north by northeast. Naruto pointed towards the fog bank. You're going to dive directly through the fog bank when I tell you. It takes a little practice. Tsuyoshi frowns, there's nothing but whirlpools beyond that fog. He knew that well enough. Everyone who lived on the sea knew of Whirlpool's famous eternal and destructive namesake. Shaking his head, Naruto offered everyone a grin, trust me, they won't be a problem. My wife is on the ship too, isn't she? Think I would put her in danger? That rang true enough for everyone present, and with orders given, the ship was on its way. Tazuna looks around with a curious gaze. Something tells me if Karen or Honoka ever get on board one of these ships they'll have a field day. Naruto nods, that's an easy bet. Tsuyoshi is curious about that, they interested in shipbuilding. Nah. Naruto turns to look at the older man again, more like they just love everything to do with science and technology. Tazuna can't help but rib the boy a bit more of his eccentric but talented wives. That gets a rise not just out of Tsuyoshi, but most of the crew present as well, wives. There are more. Naruto sighed and turned a bored look towards the unrepentant Tazuna, yeah. In total, I have 7. For now. Forever if I have my say in it. I don't know if my heart can take any more abuse. Tsuyoshi's estimation of the young ruler goes up a tad, must keep you busy. Naruto nods, like you wouldn't believe. Below deck, Hinata was walking beside Hana as she led her to a common area where many of the Yuki clan members were currently assembled and waiting for news. When we were offered the chance to resettle away from Kiri, we hoped for a real fresh start. We had been forced to scatter our numbers, hide out and hope for the best. Here Hana seems a bit remorseful as she thinks about it. Many of us were killed in the purges, ninja especially. We're mostly a civilian population now, a few members have exhibited our bloodline, but otherwise we're all ready to settle in and live peaceful lives. Taking in the more homey wooden deck and plush decorated corridor, Hinata nodded to the older woman, I want to assure you, Uzushio will allow you to lead whichever life you want to life. The city would be a great place for you to settle down in right now. Schools haven't filled up completely yet and we are building new ones due to our increasing population. It's a busy place with plenty of work, helpful people, and a strong community mindset. I think you could like it there. Hinata does take a moment to consider things before nodding. Of course, if your clan has special requirements or you would prefer to be more secluded, we can arrange something for you as well. We do have an island nearby that we've been meaning to develop and your family could be just the excuse we need. Hinata could see a hopeful look crossing the woman's face and tried to sweeten the deal. It has a natural hot spring. We could even build up a bathhouse. Hana couldn't help but mentally drool over the thought. A family bathhouse would be a wonderful idea. We could run it as a sort of resort. Shaking herself and coughing into her hand as she can see Hinata grin, Hana gives the young woman points for being attentive. Admittedly, after our treatment in Kiri, we would like to remain a bit isolated for some time. Being around people not of our family can be exhausting, to say the least. She does however turn to Hinata more fully. We do not wish to put an undue burden on Azushio or the Uzumaki family. You are already doing much for us by allowing my clan to resettle here. We will accept whatever you allow us to have, though we would prefer not to become some new military asset for you. We were assured we would allow to live peaceful lives after all. They were done with war and bloodshed. They had lost more than enough lives to the senselessness of it all. Hinata thinks that over. I think you should consider your options thoroughly. Thinking on it, we do have a new district we are building up as well that's a healthy mix of close to the city but far enough to be away from the major hustle and bustle. And Naruto's word rings true, you will be allowed to live however you please within Azushio, so long as you can get along with the rest of the citizens here. That won't be an issue. Hana knew her people, they were ready for a new life, we will do our best to integrate seamlessly. Reaching the common room and gaining the attention of 30 or so people, Hana motions to them all with a smile, this is most of my remaining family. A few of the children seem to be missing but probably are out exploring the ship I'm sure. And we would love to hear some stories about your city and your own family. Hinata can't help but smile and nod, seeing that much like Hana, the Yuki clan collectively seem to be more of the traditionally dressed. Well, I'm sure you'll have plenty of stories to tell me. But let me tell you about your new home. They didn't want to be a burden, huh? Bah. Hinata would have them convinced the hot spring island was the best place for them and having them thinking it was their idea before they left the ship. Above deck and back on the bridge, Naruto is leaning against the back wall while idly chatting with Tsuyoshi and Tazuna. Tsuyoshi can't help but secretly be a little impressed with the young man. A Cajun husband, as well as an internationally known ninja. Seems like a huge workload for a young pup to have. Gonna have to broaden those shoulders up. Not that the kid looked weak, not at all. Those lean muscles of his would fill out as he got older for sure. Naruto couldn't help but grin, big dreams come with big work, don't they? Caught off guard, Tsuyoshi can't help but burst out into loud laughter, true words boy, true words. Slapping his hands on his chair while his bridge crew watch him from the corner of their eyes, each making their own internal decisions and coming to the conclusion that the kid had him hooked. I like you kid, but liking you isn't enough to sway my decision. This is the future of my family at stake after all. Naruto nods and points a lazy finger out of the winder, oh don't worry, I've got something that'll give ya some real incentive. Seeing the fog bank closing in, Naruto focuses and creates a single hardened clone, you know the drill yeah. Clone nodding with a salute, he bounces out of the bridge, on it boss. Before anyone can stop it or question it, the clone is bounding over the side of the ship and racing into the fog bank. Feeling questioning looks turned his way, Naruto shrugs, remember when I said the whirlpools wouldn't be a problem? They're powered by Uzumaki seals. Only an Uzumaki can shut them down. So I sent my clone to clear the way for us, and activate them as we pass by. That seems like a major piece of information to give us right away. Tsuyoshi points out with no malice. It's not like it's a secret. Every nation who's tried to invade Azushio before knows about our whirlpools. Naruto shrugs as the ship barrels its way into the fog, of course, no one knows just how many whirlpools there are now. Guessing there are more now. A lot more. And some scarier things too. It takes some time, but they eventually break through the fog bank to open and clear skies and the island of Azushio on their right-hand side, or their starboard side as Naruto had learned. On their left, port side again he mentally changed, was another smaller island that he had found a natural hot spring on. He sure wanted to do something with it, but wasn't willing to step on the land of hot springs' toes with that. At least not without a good reason. Of course, it wasn't like anyone else didn't have hot springs, but still, the close proximity gave him pause. Shrugging as the ship navigated its way through the strait between the islands, Naruto pointed straight ahead where they were beginning to make out a much taller island with a bare mountain. That is our destination. Looks like a miserable rock. Tsuyoshi pulled no punches. Tazuna was the one to come to their defense this time, great building spot. Easy access to bedrock, we stuck the fortress there and you aren't wrong, if you aren't careful it's a miserable rock to try to get a foothold on. But if you know the way. Tazuna trailed off with a grin, and Tsuyoshi got the message. Sounded like a perfect spot for a fortress then. As they begin to pass by Azushio, Naruto sees a form racing along the water and kicking up a decently sized wake. His radio crackles to life, and in his ear Isarabi's voice calls out. Queen Undertow here. Any Azushio nin know this ship coming in, or is this kaiju bait? Over. Naruto can't help but chuckle, gaining everyone's attention while he made a show of pulling free his radio receiver and keying the unit directly. Queen Undertow, this is Mr. 9. He still wasn't sure about his call sign. But between the girls jokingly trying to make the exalted one stick, or several of the ninja mission staff trying to go for unending stamina, he'd take Mr. 9. These are our newest citizen transplants from Kiri. En route to Fortress. Over. Seeing a hand wave towards him, Isarabi's voice enters his ear again. Roger that, Mr. 9. Undertow returning to patrol. Watching the woman jump and then dive back underwater, a massive shake following behind her along with several smaller others, Naruto sighs and wonders what else Karen or Honoka cooked up for her. Something nightmare-inducing most likely. Tsuyoshi catches on that they must have encountered a patrol, so security was tight then. You're a prudent bunch. Most would have let the natural defense do the job. That Azushio still ran patrols was telling of a people willing to put contingencies in place and plan for emergencies. Naruto can't help but nod as the main portion of his radio makes it back into a pouch nestled at his lower back. Never hurts to be prepared. Be ready for anything really. They were ninja. Ninja was sneaky. Though the ship was faster than most, it was still another half an hour of travel time before the ship got within range of their island destination. Naruto directing them to the cove entrance with a grin as the fortress loomed high overhead on the other side of the island. Even from here as they closed in, the high and thick walls were an imposing sight that Tsuyoshi can't help but give an impressed whistle to. That's good work, guessin' that's you Tazuna. Tazuna nods, arms crossed over his chest with pride, yup. Took some work, but I'm proud of our job here. I'll be even more proud of this addition we're going to work on once we get the design finalized. Entrance to the cove just before them, Naruto looks back to the captain of this ship, might want to slow, this is it. Tsuyoshi makes a motion and the helmsman does just that, slowing the ship as they enter the massive cove through the archway. Quiet gasps come from the crew as they take in the space, while on deck below them the various crew members are all slowing in their work and taking in the area as well. Naruto watches them all and knows he has them hooked. Above them new work lights had been installed temporarily to give them light in the dark space, while along the back wall where the fortress entrance was, space had already begun to be demolished and cleared especially so they could begin docking and unloading ships. It was rough, and still needed work, but Naruto pointed around the massive space. We eventually plan on turning all of this space into not just a port for the fortress, but our shipyard as well. It's rough, needs well, everything. But I'm sure you aren't afraid of getting your hands dirty, no. Seeing the rapid scanning of Tsuyoshi's eyes over the area, Naruto isn't worried about the Zozansho clan settling in Azushio anymore. They could see the opportunity here, and they would take it. Tsuyoshi already knew it was a done deal. This was exactly what his family liked, a large enclosed space that could be walled off and protected from the elements. They could build year-round, protect themselves from the elements and from intruders. Build it how they wished so long as they got to give their input on the port's designs. Carefully he turned his eyes to Tazuna and realized Naruto had brought him here just for this. Tazuna was the builder and designer, just who Tsuyoshi was going to want to talk to right away. Shit. Kid had him and by the looks of it, he knew it too. Grumbling and ignoring the quiet chuckles of his crew, Tsuyoshi slapped his chair. Well, it's not a bad space. Might just fit us all. Before anyone could call him out, a younger boy of maybe 12 zoomed onto the bridge, slamming into Tsuyoshi's side and pointing excitedly out of the front windows. Dad. Is this our new home? Holy cow, we could all spread out and we wouldn't even take up a quarter of this place. Come on, tell me this is our place. Is it? Wide eyes looked intently at the older man, and with a tired sigh he gave up, his crew chuckling. Or burn it all, yeah, this is home. Or will be once we get some construction going. His son cheering and sprinting away to most likely spread the news, Tsuyoshi turns a tired eye to Naruto who can't help but grin and bow lightly towards him. I need a man's promise from you, lad. Naruto turned fully to Tsuyoshi and held out a fist. If it's within my power, it'll happen. Through his demeanor and the respect he seemed to command from his people, Tsuyoshi got the feeling that Naruto was the type to honor a promise till death and then some. If we stay here, if we decide to build ships and weapons. We demand that they only ever be used in the defense of their home, or in the defense of others. Can you promise that? Naruto nods instantly, absolutely. Uzushio will never use anything you build for anything other than protecting the weak and our home. We wish to remain peaceful and to build peaceful relations with as many nations as possible after all. Standing and coming towards the young leader, Tsuyoshi holds out a hand which Naruto takes and they both shake firmly. Then we are yours to command, Lord Uzumaki. The Zouzensho are an Uzushio Gakure clan from here on. Naruto grins as the man steps back. Happy to have you, Tsuyoshi the Keel. I promise we will do our best to do right by you so long as you are with us. Tazuna is already standing and making his way outside. Well, if we're back, come get me back to shore so we can get back to work. Now we really need to ramp up construction. Naruto nods and follows along behind Tazuna. Gotcha, old man, I'll get ya to shore. I'm gonna sick tsunami on you one day. You wouldn't. Absolutely would. Both men banter as the gathered Zouzensho men all watch them leave, eyebrows raised at the casual manner of their new leader. Tsuyoshi can't help but chuckled and returned to relax in his chair. Maybe this won't be so bad. At least he isn't so stuffy as most other nobles. Down below, Naruto has the chance to freak out everyone by steadily making a procession of dozens upon of clones at a time, one of which having grabbed Tazuna and was carrying the loudly barking man towards the shore. Already his orders were being followed, and several clones were getting back to making a racket, blasting and removing rock from selected areas. Having heard the news and decided to come up to observe, Hinata followed by Hana as several members of her clan reached the upper deck. Looking around with some wonder, Hinata comes to find the grinning blonde who was well on his way to making more than 1,000 clones. I'm guessing things went well. Naruto nods, looking back at his love and smirking. The Zouzensho have pledged to be a clan of Uzushio from here on. Hinata accepts that easily, never doubting that Naruto would bring the somewhat stubborn clan head around. Turning aside, she watched as Hana comes before the teen and gathers his attention. As he turns to them, Hana bows deeply to him, an action mirrored by her family members with her. We as well, the Yuki clan pledges their lives to Uzushio and the Uzumaki clan. May our lines be long and prosperous. Standing tall and having a small smile on her face, Hana has no worries that things will go well for them so long as they are with Naruto. Grinning, Naruto gives them all a resolute nod. I promise, we'll take good care of you here. Hinata chimes in quickly. I had mentioned that the hot spring island we were thinking of developing would be perfect for them. Think we can spare some time for that soon. Naruto nods without a care. Sure thing, Tazuna and Kotohime actually designed something out a while ago. Supplies won't be an issue, so I'll set about getting started on it tomorrow. Easy work really. By now he mentally had thousands of hours in construction thanks to Tazuna and his clones. He could work the entire project alone if needed. Hana waved her hands quickly. We do not wish to be a burden, my lord. Honest. Naruto was already waving her off. It's no trouble at all. If you do decide to open it up as a resort though, make sure to invite my family at least once. I'm sure you can turn it into something breathtaking when you get to personalize it. Focusing back on his work, he went back to creating clones. He still had a little more to give now that he thought about it. Tiredly looking at the innocent-looking Hinata, Hana couldn't help but snorting. You are crafty. Hinata nods. Have to be. My husband is a very determined one. She motions to the horde of clones around them. He can spawn literal legions to follow his will. All for the sake of making his will reality. He wants to make a better life for his precious people, and that now includes you. You'll have to get used to his more hyper-focused personality. One of the Yuki clan members, a younger girl with a shock of white hair and purple eyes, can't help but mumble loud enough for everyone to hear her. Are we sure he's not some kami descended to Earth? What human can do this? Hinata chuckled and watches the chaos around them with a smile. If he is, consider him one for the people here to make our lives better with every one action he takes. She couldn't let Kurama hear that kind of talk though. The proud and arrogant Biju would let it go straight to his head. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.